Hey, what's up, y'all? It's called the Chess Chronicles. Look, I have not did one of these videos on YouTube in a little while because, I don't have that many subscribers on YouTube, but, I'm trying to build it up and I'm going to keep going. I want to make this channel more about, travel and, to get to see good, great places. Of course, it takes a lot of money for that too. But I want to make sure it's about, that and then also everything that I do. But this video right now is going to be about me. But of course, I'm gonna give you a little bit more, when it comes to my origins and where I'm from, where my family's from, and actually talk about some great people I actually met in my family, and I was just blessed to see them, live that long. So I am from the state of Arkansas. If you did not follow any of my other videos, yes, I'm from the state of Arkansas. My family origins, both sides of my family origins is from central and southern Louisiana. So yes, when it comes to that, I will place a spell on you if I need to. But it's, it's good. It's kind of good. I've been to, Louisiana countless of times. Love the entire state. And, I met family members from there, migrated towards Arkansas and of course to Detroit, the north, and, some actually think on the West Coast, if I'm not mistaken. But being from a very small town, I was born in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, but my hometown is actually Clarendon, Arkansas. It's in the Mississippi Delta, and if you look up the Mississippi Delta, of course, they'll give you all these, demographics of like poor, this, whatnot too. I actually, when I look back at my, my life, and when I grew up in a small town, I'm just like, I think it was, it was a great experience. And I'm just gonna say for me, because, it gives you those down home values and it's just, I can go back and see where I'm from. And it's just like, it's just like nostalgia when it comes to, going back there. I can go back to my grandfather's, property, and I can go to the Blueberry Hill where, like literally there's like a whole bunch of blueberries on that hill. There was a levee. I mean, it's the kind of thing. And actually right now, if you go back and see some of my pictures on Instagram, I took, I think it was like 2001, where I was actually down the road, which my grandfather's home was. And they renamed the street like 10, 20 years ago to our family last name, which was Cole. And now the trees are overgrown like this. And it's kind of crazy because, and I referenced, in Louisiana, that the trees have grown up like this. And I'm actually going to go back and I'm going to take some pictures, going down that road again, because it's beautiful now. I mean, the trees are huge. When I remember from going down there, when I was in the past, it wasn't that big, but the trees are like literally going over, like, when you see those long roads in New Orleans and, in Louisiana, you just like, whoa, it's like, this is nice, especially when you see all the foliage and in the spring and everything is new and bloom and everything else like that too. But I'm going to talk about my family members. I got a chance to meet my my great grandmother. Yes, my great grandmother. I mean, she was alive a few years while I was born, and then she passed. But I met my great grandmother, and I also I was actually really close when I was younger, and it wasn't that to me because I mean I was 5 and 6, and I got to meet my great grandfather. And my grandkids said got to meet, but no, my great grandmother and my great grandfather. And that was on my father's side of the family, and it was just absolutely incredible because I was like, God, this woman is my great grandmother, and I actually got to interact and know her for and I still remember her to this day, and before she passed, because she passed when I was like 5, 6 or something like that too. And then no, it was 5, because then my great grandfather passed when I was like 5, 6, and my great grandfather, we were actually really close. And some odd reason, I actually had a really close relationship with him because, you know, he bought me my first pet. So I'm going to tell you my first pet. My first pet, yes, I'm country, was a rooster. And it was one of the prettiest roosters that you would ever see. He kept it at his home, and it was just a pretty, he picked the shiniest rooster that you could ever, I mean, that I've ever seen. I mean, like those, I mean, I don't know if he put baby oil, but put baby oil on the feathers, but it was the feathers. But my first pet was actually a pet rooster in Clarendon, Arkansas, and my great grandfather got it for me, and I, you know, saw it many of the times because, of course, it was kept at his home because they have a bigger yard in order for the rooster to run around. And yes, he did the whole cock-a-doodle-doo in the morning time or whatnot. But I remember him. His name was Johnny Atkins, and he was a good person. He really was, especially to me. I mean, it was just like a great person. I remember him always. I would like go there every single day, especially when we moved like down the street from him. And so it was, you know, real safe. You know, I told you I'm an 80s baby during that time. So I actually got to go to his home every single day if I wanted to, because we stayed by a railroad track when I first was named, but I had a house by a railroad track with a big ass, I mean, I'll talk about that too, a big ass, let me interject and talk about that. So yes, we moved to a house that was by a railroad track, and it had a huge magnolia tree. I mean, it was huge. Like the fragrances and the scents that was coming through my bedroom window was actually nauseating at the time because it was consistent, but it smelled good. But you know, if it's consistently coming through your bedroom window, it's just like, oh my God. For a little while, I couldn't stand like magnolias because that scent used to come through my window every single spring and summer, and until they died off. And then it was just a pain. You know, in the summer when all the leaves and going to the fall, that it just fell on the floor. It's like a slick ground because, you know, magnolia trees leaves are just very slick, and no. But that scent was I love magnolia now, but I mean, the scent of magnolia. But back then it got on my nerves because it was just like our house had a 24-hour plug-in. I'm just not gonna lie to you. It was just like, Jesus have mercy. But so we moved into that house when I was younger, and my grandfather's house, my great grandfather's house was literally, you go across the railroad track, and his house was literally probably not even it was like 0.15 mile down the street. So I can walk down it all the time. And even when I walk downtown, it's like this big ass ditch. So I'm gonna tell you a little bit more about myself. So yes, I used to like, you know, catch frogs and catch turtles and stuff like that in the ditch that was like right there too. So yeah, it's a lot, but I'm gonna reveal a lot about that later. But so yes, I'm going to the fact that yes, I got to meet get to know my great grandmother, and also I got to know and, you know, actually develop a good relationship with my great grandfather, and that's on my father's side. And then I also got to meet my great grandmother on my mother's side, and her name was May, and she lived in this town called DeWitt, which is actually probably like 15 miles, 20 miles, you know, from Clarendon, Arkansas. So I met her one time, and then she passed not too long after, but she was a energetic woman. Actually, she reminds me of my grandmother who passed in 2012. They literally have the similar attitudes. It was like straightforward and blunt. And it was just like, you know, I know I get my whole, let's just say some of my mentality from actually most of when it comes to being very direct, because it was just no nonsense with them. And she was no nonsense too, my grandmother May, and then also my grandmother Dorothy, which is my grandmother. And, you know, whatnot. My grandfather, Johnny Acker, he was also the same thing. But he was, like, very quiet. I mean, just, like, quiet, but he was just, like, you know, very reserved when it comes to people. and people who came into his life and what, from what I remember. And then my grandmother, my great great grandmother, let's see, mother, we just called her mother because, a lot of people didn't even use their names, they just called them mother. So she was my great 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 grandmother mother. She was in her final stages of life. She was in her late 90s. And then when I was like 4 or 5, and she passed like when I was 5. If I'm not mistaken. And but it progressed, and she went away. But she talked for a little bit. I heard her speak a few things. She walked around, the house and everything like that too. And then she became ridden within like months, and then after that she passed. So it's just a little bit more about me when it comes to my family and where I come from, my stock, because I'm just like, okay, yeah, I got to meet my great great grandmother and my great grandfather. Of course, my grandmother and my grandfather. The only person I did not get to meet is my mother's father, my grandfather. He passed, when she was a teenager, and I was just like, that's the only person I get to meet and to actually know. But yeah, that's just a little bit more about me and where I come from. And I'm just speaking about myself right now because it's kind of interesting, because it's kind of crazy, especially when it comes to when it comes to YouTube, and you start talking about your life, and then you get these little thoughts, and you start to think about it, and you was like, hey, I want to share this and talk about my family, my life, and and certain things just like that too. Just try to get to people and just to bring up certain things like, oh yeah, I remember this about certain people. I remember this because I would say for the majority of my life, I've had nothing but great memories. Of course, we had some hard times and some struggles and everything else like that too. But for the majority of my life, I've had a really, really good life. When it comes to my mom, I have, some issues when it comes to the biological DNA person, but I also have a good, father, my stepfather called Terry. But when it comes to just life in general, I never really had to go through that whole big old struggle, worry about this or worry about that. And I am so grateful, for, not having to go through that type of situation, because I know a lot of people are out there, and, and I feel for them, and, have, sympathy, empathy, everything for them, because it's just like, yes, I didn't experience it, and I would never even in any lifetime want to experience that. So, people who, pull themselves up from bootstraps and, have, had these horrible, like when I've heard some stories, even when at the jobs that I worked in, I'm just like, I've never had to go through that type of situation in my life, and I'm truly blessed. I'm gonna say that when it comes to me and my upbringing and where I come from, and the strong parental figures that I do have in my life, and my family members, because I would say my Aunt Marie she was there too, and it was just like, I didn't have to go through that. So I feel, and I have a very incredible empathy for people who went through that, the hard life and everything else like that too. But, it's just something I just wanted to, share with y'all right quick, because, it's something I was thinking about. But I definitely appreciate, I said I was going to make this video like 10 minutes, but it's actually 13 minutes, almost, it's going to 14 minutes. But I want to say thank y'all so much, and I appreciate y'all for just listening to me, and have an incredible day, life, whatever it may be.